And good evening and welcome to the Woza Friday edition of your view on Newsroom Africa. The week has been tough. It's been a tough week. Really heart-wrenching stuff there. I'm sure you saw earlier on the roundtable that Kathy Mutlatlana had on gender-based violence, and we carry on that theme throughout the night. We need to drum this thing in seriously. But of course, there were other news this week before we get to the issue of gender-based violence. Just the SABC in the news again. This is what I had to say earlier on, in case you missed it earlier on in the week about the SABC. Some of the organizations that have gotten, bailouts from Treasury are in a mess. They're in a worse state than the SABC will ever be in the next 10 years. But the check was hurriedly signed. Because maybe those boards that are in those entities, they are politically connected and so on, they can pick up a phone and ring the president and so on. Whereas this board was made to wait there at the presidential guest house there. Were made to wait outside, like school kids waiting outside the principal's office on a bench. Could not even get audience with the president up to now. It's shocking. The Minister of Communications came here with paraffin speed here when she was appointed there, rushing there, causing chaos, causing half of that board to resign. I saw that board, most of them interim board, had held the press conference just 2 or 3 weeks ago saying they don't like some of the reports that came out of the SIU and what have you and so on. But they were made to flee. They were made to flee. Credible people like Matata Tsedu and Ausi Kanyikwe Dama were made to flee the place because nobody would fund it. How do you want this? They wanted to fund it from their own pockets, or I don't understand. But it's all chaos, and the Treasury has to be consistent in ensuring that a broadcaster like the SABC that actually serves so many South Africans every day with news and current affairs and information and entertainment should not go down. And then, of course, they're saying, oh, now they're going to give them in trenches and bits and pieces so that they avoid an on-air blackout. I think, in fact, the journalists there must take a stance. The same way that the journalists before, who were called the SABC, took a stand against the chaos of Claudi. I think the journalists must take a stand now against the chaotic behavior of the Minister of Communications and her counterpart at Treasury, who are dilly-dallying and using the Treasury's money and ability and responsibility to actually save the SABC. Using it as a little piggyback and behaving as if this is their money, right? And these are the same people who turn a blind eye when money is being wasted all over the place with municipalities squandering this money and so on. But when they have to take this money and make sure that a public broadcaster can continue to do his job, they don't do it. They run around, they come with silly things that are in fact only a punishment for that board, hoping that board will resign before the local government elections. I have news for you. That board is not about to resign. You're going to have to give them money. All right. And when I was saying this was before the State Capture Commission, testimonies this week. It's a horror story that's going on at the SABC, yeah? Just a few weeks ago, there was this report that was beginning to tell us politely, and Joe Tolo, with respect for him, right, telling us still politely that, there's the spectre of the ANC is hovering over the board. Now, the CEO of the SABC tells us in front of a judge that there are board members in the current board who are interfering with the work of editorial work of the SABC. There was a poem yesterday at the function that I was attending with the former president of Chile and former President Motlanthe, who delivered a poem that was entitled, "We Have Been Here Before." We have seen this movie before, and we thought under Ramaphosa it will change. But clearly it's what Whitney Houston would say, same script, different cast. Same nonsense, essentially. At the SABC. Chaos. Today, the testimony there was continuing there. The journalists, respectable journalists who are executive producers at SAFM, they're saying that the Parliament, telling us what we already know, that Parliament failed in its oversight role. And I really liked what she said. That some of the questions that the parliamentarians were asking, they were asking not as oversight, but as if they were questioning their friends. As you know, question your friends, that you never had on your friends. No, question them on that, sunshine questions and so on. Nonsense. The public broadcaster in crisis, and I really have to take my hat off to Bongu Musa Makati, who has resisted the nonsense and became independent. That's the kind of independent board chair we need. And they were trying to Minister of Communication must hang in shame, really. She did not speak to that chairperson from November last year to April. Imagine that. Half as a when the place is falling apart, why Imagad? No, they've not met the requirements. She doesn't realize it reflects on her that they can't meet the requirements under her watch for months. Because she decided not to talk to the leader of that place because that person did not sing and dance ANC slogans and tunes. It's nonsense. And they are in front of the judge. And as on the yes, and we now know the truth that the place is still rotten and the executives there must be allowed to do their jobs. SABC, it belongs to us also. So I don't know, another channel because SABC belongs to all of us. Okay, fine, I've exhaled. We hope to talk to the SABC soon. But let's talk now about gender-based violence. This is what we had to say earlier on in the week. This criminal mindset that is infested even our homes, where it's not safe for women, even in loving relationships, where people are supposed to protect them, to love them, and so on, and they get killed by the same people. It's bad and it's terrible, and we need not only raise the issues only when we are faced with a death like we have had to deal with tonight. We've got to continue the conversation that makes it impossible for women bashers to breathe in our presence. Women bashers must not be allowed to breathe. Women bashers must be made to feel like skunk if we are going to get it right in this country. It's actually shocking. I saw a clip which was quite shocking, and I was sharing this with my wife and saying, can you believe that at the memorial service of Dr. Thandi, her friends were saying that she was being abused. A person so senior, so accomplished, so fantastic in public life and so on, being beaten up at home every day. And that's how we've had to now have our memories of her as a fantastic and bubbly woman spoiled at that memorial service. But it tells us that it looks like we are going to be reminded by death itself that we need to deal with this issue of women bashing quite seriously and quite urgently in this country. And can you believe, that's not even what I wanted to talk about, just truly just angered by these developments where violence seems to be the language of our country, and we just are not getting around to dealing with it effectively. And of course, the president today addressing the nation on the issue, saying that it's going to be a state of emergency. I'm not quite sure how emergent is a state of emergency. But by the way, if you've missed what the president had to say, in our next bulletin, come and ready, we'll bring in that blow by blow of what he had to say. And we want to know from you, do you think it's enough action? We've had a gender-based summit almost a year ago, and we are told that there's been progress. And of course, I want to talk to Professor Mkhize, who is a minister, deputy minister in the presidency, responsible for women, to tell me what exactly has happened. Right? And as we were saying yesterday, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be what we call a multi-pronged approach to a multi-pronged problem. It's not a linear issue where only one sector of society have to worry about it. All of us have to pull our weight. Whether you are a man in the relationship or a man in the home, you got to ask yourself how you are contributing to eradicating gender-based violence. You can have as much a state of emergency as possible. There's no state of emergency that's going to have a soldier in every home. Because unfortunately, most times we deal with these things post facto. The statistics are shocking that 50% of women who are murdered, 50% of those are actually murdered by their own partners. High. So so it's clear that the biggest issue is to change the mindset. I hope I pronounced it well. It's a lack of consciousness. And once we can trigger that, the switch of consciousness, that's why it becomes natural or no, I'm going to solve this thing of violence. How do you explain what happened this week where a man, because the woman was divorcing him, kills 4 children. Imagine that. Kills 4 innocent children. No, if nobody's going to get you, and these children kababula. The switch of consciousness, it immediately means switch off, because that doesn't make any sense. But so many of us walking around with a switched off conscience, lights out. We got to switch back the consciousness of our nation. Each one of us, in our homes, in our churches, in our youth clubs, in our political parties, in our workplaces, switch on that consciousness, switch it back on, because that's the only way we're going to defeat gender-based violence. Government did a promise. It's not, I'm sorry to say, it's not new. What are the promise? Have I got a better life? All of it is. What are the promise? This one will be different. I'll be shocked if it is. I'll be happy to be proved wrong, obviously. But it is you and me who must switch on our consciousness. Next week, we'll be talking black consciousness as we remember Biko, where we have to revisit the issue of black self-love. Mudidima Manya, advocate from UNISA, is talking to me next. Stay tuned.